A very, very warm welcome to my podcast, brought to you by Michael Glanville Executive Coaching. And I've got the absolute privilege, as I always say, of interviewing Tom from Varn Media. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Tom, we are sat in some woods, in some woodland, at your woodland office. Now, I have not ever done a podcast with anybody in a woodland office before. So tell me about why are we here in a woodland office?
Well, it depends how long you've got, Michael. But I think part of it is our wish to develop a workplace where people want to go. Okay. But also look at an office as an investment, not a cost. I think what we've learned is too many businesses look at an office as a cost and overhead. Obviously, it does cost money. But if you look at it as an investment, how can it help your team? Then I think that helps your business. And that's where it initially came from. It also came out of the fact that we were fortunate enough to own a woods to try and manage or offset our impact on the world as an agency. Okay. And then COVID happened, you couldn't go in. But do you remember there was a time when you could meet in a pub outside and every pub had a marquee outside? That was around Christmas. So we had our Christmas strategy day and we were like, well, let's get together because we haven't been together for like a year. Let's meet outside in the woods. So I hung a rope between the wood. In the woods we had a couple of trees, big tarpaulin, a load of fire pits. Looked like a cheap version of Game of Thrones, if you can picture it. Probably a bit of a health and safety risk. Got a TV from home, and then we ran our strategy day. And it was a bit fresh, but the team loved it. And they all said, oh, it's great to be outside, the energy, it didn't drop in the afternoon like it can do at a conference when you're inside. And then without really thinking, I was like, what, should we have a woodland office? And the team were like, yeah, great. And probably should have costed it first, but that was the start of the journey. And it probably cost more than we thought, but it's paid back in dividends more than we thought as well. And it's just part of one of our 3 offices now. So we've got the bricks and mortar, the one in London and this here. And we work from here in the summer. And in the winter, now we've got this slightly more insulated option.
Amazing. So what a brilliant start to the story. So, okay, look, Varn Media is an SEO agency. Yeah. You've been in business for 15 years, is that right?
Yeah, 2010 started. Yeah.
So founded by you. Yeah. You didn't call it Tom Vaughton Media. Why did you call it Varn?
Well, I called it Varn. So when I was a kid at school, my brother was a year above, his nickname became Varn. For some random reason, there was a name in an English school book, sort of classic boy, not particularly well thought through nickname. Started with a V. He became Varn. I became Little Varn at school. He was Big Varn, and that stuck. And when I was looking for a domain name years ago, I wanted something that didn't really say what we did, so it gave flexibility. Because even back when I started, I was like, it was more like SEO and web dev. So you had people being like, web design Hertford or web design Wiltshire or something. I sort of thought, I just don't want to be pigeonholed. So it was a bit generic, didn't mean anything, but you need to come get up with the name somehow, and that made sense.
And you build a business around the brand name didn't really matter.
No, essentially you just wanted to be like, people trust you to do what you say you're going to do.
Okay, interesting. And so in that first 12 months, you've come up with a name, you found a web address in your mind, and at that time, obviously agency was very different, marketing was very different, SEO was very different. What was it that you saw that made you think, well, actually, this is the direction I want to build this company on? These are the foundations I want to use.
Well, partly necessity. So I used to work in Hertfordshire, and do the SEO for a training company, and headed up that, grew the company, ended up helping to run the company. And then when we had kids, wanted to sort of move back to be near a family. Turned out I was unemployable, I think, essentially is what happened. I went to a few job interviews and I was like, I just these companies they didn't excite me at all. Yeah. And I realised actually what annoyed me was the double glazing approach to SEO, as it was a bit smoke and mirrors, and people were selling something that wasn't really helpful, but no one really knew. So that annoyed me. And I went to all these companies that were asking me to do their SEO, but they just didn't excite me. And I was like, well, why don't I do it for other people in an open and honest way that's linked to performance? And that's where it came out of. And I think I said that to a company, not that I had an interview with, just someone I knew from the company. And they're like, well, we can be your first client. And it sort of started there.
Yeah. Wow. That must have been pretty nerve-wracking. It's just you on your own starting your business, as many of our viewers and listeners do. But I mean, what was going through your mind at that time? Are you thinking in 15 years' time, this is what I want it to be? Or
if I'm honest, initially it was just pay the bills.
Yeah.
I mean, so we had a young family, 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. It was 2010, so not long after the financial crash of 2007, 2008. So it wasn't the wisest time to move house and set up a business with no income. But fortunately, my wife was super supportive. So she was a teacher. She was like, Tom, if it all goes terribly wrong, I'll go back to teaching and you can be a full-time dad. And I was like, sounds like a fair deal.
It's kind of giving it's almost giving you permission.
Yeah, so it's giving permission. I'd been fortunate that I'd failed a lot in my previous job, and my boss there had been really good at letting me do that and learn from that. And I'd learnt a lot from him about business and the risks and the rewards, not financially necessarily, but just enjoying your job. So I think I was just positive, and I was like, well, I'll give it a go. I think if I hadn't given it a go, I'd always wish I had tried to run my own business. That was just my personality. It's different. Everyone's different. Some people think I'm mad, not knowing what you're going to earn next year. Other people like that unknown. And I think I do. So I think I was like, I'll try it. My first aim was just to pay the mortgage, if I'm being brutally honest. I didn't have a massive plan. But then when it started to grow, we got clients, then you had to think, what do I actually want out of it?
And did you, I mean, so you say, I mean, what sort of pace were you growing at? I mean, was it an uncomfortable pace? Was it a comfortable pace? Did you think, I really, really want to do more, but actually I know I need to hold myself back?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, when you're small, it's easy to double in size every year, right?
Yeah, because you can go from £1 to £2 a year.
Yeah. So we see something like doubling in size every year, which sounds amazing, but as everybody who runs a business will know, that is easier to do when you're smaller. So what happened was, I think I just enjoyed it. I soon realised I enjoyed the ideas and the bigger picture rather than the doing.
Okay.
So some people love doing and structure and planning. I realised that wasn't me, but we were also getting so busy I wasn't really having weekends. And again, my wife wisely made the point, well, if you're billing enough, surely you can afford to employ someone.
Yeah.
Because if you're working that many hours, you're either not charging enough, you haven't got a life, so you don't care, or there's something. So I was like, actually, you're right. But the problem is your first member of staff hits your profit the most.
Yeah, it's a really big deal.
Yeah, for sure. Whereas now, we're probably a bit more relaxed on it. So there was that big deal. And then you also got to back yourself, because I do care about paying wages and the responsibility of that. So it's a bit like, actually, do I back myself to do this? Because actually it's easy to talk about it. So I think I was just like, actually, then we did have to think about what we're trying to do. If I want to get a member of staff, we then need to get an office. And then we get an office, how big an office do we get? Because then you're looking at leases in those days were quite long. And then we went for an office, I'm not joking, 4,000 square feet for 2 people. Like, clearly way too big. But the opportunity came up in Bradford Avon, and I was like, well, I'll just rent desks out. And we did. So we rent desks out to freelancers. And actually, we had a really good vibe. Yeah. But then almost it became, I need to fill this. So almost it was a bit self-fulfilling, if I'm honest, just because the office happened to, if we'd got a smaller office.
Just everything kind of fell into place.
A little bit. Yeah, we had an open mindset. I think we had this belief where we knew a lot of SEO agencies were slightly gaming the system and not doing an honest job. And that was annoying. Like, it honestly annoys me still when we get a new client, you look at what's done before and you're like, that's not fair. So I think there was still that drive of like, how can we get the word out? But we sort of kept our light under a bit of a bushel because we weren't exactly sure how to do that for quite a while. But yeah, there was a driver as well for that. But yeah, fundamentally, there was also an office to film.
And that's interesting. Is that would you say that's your elevator pitch? That's what differentiates you from other SEO agencies? Because, there are thousands, aren't there? I mean, and everybody has a different pitch.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, when I first started, someone said to me, well, there's loads of people doing it, Tom, and quite a few charge less. Because they're freelancers, we're not, we don't charge silly amounts as an agency. And I was like, yeah, but we'll care. So genuinely, we've had clients for over a decade on monthly rolling contracts because they know we care and they know we get the results.
Yeah.
I guess that's our pitch to clients we speak to. It's like, look, speak to these clients we've got. These are the results we've achieved. We're very open with what we're going to do and why, especially at the moment with AI search and stuff. So I think that's always been our narrative. And that was more just who we are or who I was and then who we are as a company rather than a brilliant sales plan. It just turned out to work quite well.
Yeah, sort of fell into place.
Honest, yeah.
And how many in the team now?
29 about.
And that includes London as well, which we'll touch on in a second. So come back to that sort of middle stage. Did you have in your mind clients that you were targeting? I mean, because you're quite big in pharmaceutical, aren't you? But did you think, right, I want to be the Coca-Cola SEO agency, or was it just whoever comes through the door? And
so initially, it was a bit like whoever comes through the door, which add strengths and weaknesses to that approach, because some clients just aren't meant to be. Originally, it was quite regional, so I would go to people's websites, look at it, and if we could help, I would just contact them, including like Nationwide Building Society, who completely ghosted me. Even though I had loads of ideas of what they could do, clearly I didn't have the right contact there. But eventually, someone did get back to me, and so it was more regional to begin with.
Yeah.
But then my background, weirdly, I did a degree in biology, so not really linked to SEO or marketing for that matter. But that background helped in the sort of healthcare space. Then there was someone I knew who I'd worked with, who was a big medical device company, and again their website was appalling. So I told them. It took me 12 months of me telling them to eventually get a meeting, and genuinely we won that almost purely on the fact that I'd done a degree in biology, because I had no idea what SEO was.
Amazing. You've got to just be persistent, haven't you?
Yeah. That is the biggest lesson there, because I emailed him once a month, every month, with some new thought or bit of advice, or the classic, I'm just passing, do you want me to drop in? And no every time. And then out of the blue emailed me and said, Tom, we need to speak about a website. But it is just...
Timing is everything.
Yeah, and that's the challenge with an agency. You could scale quickly, but it's not like you're selling software where you can go, with the same number of staff. It is more of a balance. It does take longer to sell in.
To kind of get it moving. So that journey of growth has been brilliant, because you're here in a Woodland office, and you've got great strategy, great business. You mentioned a minute ago you've moved into London. How did that sort of come about? Because it's not where your base was. You've also got some clients there, but was it just one of those other things that fell into place for your story?
A little bit. I mean, so if I can roll back maybe a few years.
Let's go.
That's all right. So I reckon when we're about 10 staff, and it'd be interesting if any of your viewers or listeners can align with this, I reckon we stayed at between 10 and 12 staff for a few years. And we were profitable every year, but I was blatantly a bottleneck. So I was like a one-man senior team, I suppose. There's only so much you can do. There's only so many hours in the day. And at that point, I realised that's fine. We need to stay as we are, and I need to get over it and structure it slightly differently so I'm not looking at hours. Or we go for growth. But if you want to go for growth, you have to double in size. Otherwise, you're not making the same profit.
Yeah. There's
no point going to 14 or 15, because by the time you've got the senior team in, that might be nicer, but you're actually making less money than when you're 10. So there was that. And partly that reason for growth was actually because it annoyed me that other agencies were bigger, that I knew we were better than. So I was like, how on earth have they grown? So I had a quick look at them and what they were doing, tried to work it out. And I thought, right, we can do better than they can from a delivery point of view. So I was like, spoke to some people, got a senior team in. So that happened. We went from like 10 to maybe 22. And then, and again, that happened relatively quickly over a couple of years. And then it looked like we were going to sort of probably plateau again, if I'm honest. So we were chatting about, okay, we need some more senior people to support the doers. And with AI coming, we need to be ready for that and evolve with that. We were also aware that we had quite a few clients in London. So it was like, they're not growing as well as they can do. Would it help if we were there? Because we'd go in quite a lot, and we still do, but that worked really well, but we couldn't go in as much as we needed. So, and we needed to grow our specialist content team out, because writing for AI and for healthcare and other sectors we work in is quite specialist. So it was a bit of a perfect storm. And my mother-in-law, who used to offer pearls of wisdom, one of her sayings was like, it's only a bargain if you're going to buy it anyway. As in, if you go into John Lewis and there's a sale and you buy yourself a new TV, but your old one wasn't broken, that's not actually a bargain.
No.
So the things aligned, and it seemed like it was a good result for the investment. And also, again, it was that point where we'd reflected as a senior team, did we want to grow again? Well, actually, were we happy to stay at 22? And we decided, no, we can do a good job. Let's go again.
And leadership is a fundamental part of the journey. And clearly you've got a team around you that love working for you, love working for the business. Some people always leave, some people arrive. That's just kind of life. But in terms of leadership insights, what do you think is the sort of biggest lesson that you've learned with being the leader as opposed to being led? What would you say?
I'd say they probably haven't loved it every day.
Does anybody love it every single day?
I asked the team, they're probably like, he's all right most of the time. But biggest lesson, I think for me, and it's a little bit cliche, and you've read it in books, but was genuinely working out where being honest with yourself. The challenge is social media, LinkedIn, whatever. Every leader, not every, a lot of the leaders on it look like they know what they're doing and look like they're good at everything.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of social media.
A bit like parenting, and always marketing.
Except mine, because I do know what I'm doing. So.
Yeah,
and
but that's your job. So my job's SEO, it's not leading.
Yeah.
Well, no, my job was SEO, not leading, and now it's leading, not SEO.
Yeah, okay.
Your job is to share your knowledge because you've been a leader.
Yeah.
But I was behind that. I was behind you in that curve, as in I wasn't a leader at that point. So I think what helped us was me realise there were gaps. You probably already identified the gaps. It was me to identify where are the gaps in my skill set, because those gaps are the things that de-energise you. So if I look back at when there's been times maybe I haven't, not lows, but hasn't maybe gone as well as it could have, they've not really been financial. They've more been probably energy and mental, because I've been doing stuff that doesn't energise me, and therefore you're often not that good at it. So for me, it was like being honest with myself. Because again, when I was getting frustrated with these other agencies that were growing, I knew the people who led it, and they weren't. They honestly, some of them were impressive, but some of them weren't. They were just very normal. Like probably maybe above average intelligence, maybe not. But they seemed to be more aware of what they were good at and not good at. And then when you met their team, you realised how those people filled a gap. And I think that was my realisation, was like, to do this well, I need to realise what I'm not good at, own that.
And then fill the gaps in knowledge with people that are better than you at those various different things.
Which I know they always say hire people better than you. I would just add to that, hire people that are better than you in the bits you're not good at. Because the bits you are good at, then that's what gives you energy. So you don't want to be hire people doing that, because then you'll be doing the bits you don't like.
So there's an element of that means that you have had to recognise that there's stuff you have to let go. And sometimes for leaders or even just department managers, micromanagement becomes kind of the way that they become confident with themselves and confident with the decisions that they're making. Clearly you've had to learn, and I'm never saying that you were ever a micromanager, but clearly you've had to learn that if there are skills within the team that are complementing your own, you've got to let them get on with it.
Yeah, I would say I was an unintentional micromanager though.
Okay.
I think that's probably quite common, I'd wager. Because there's a bit where either because you haven't been clear with your strategy and the aims of where you want to get to, which is possibly another discussion, but a factor in how we grew, I think, because we got clearer at that. Or because you've hired the wrong people. Or because you are just nervous of letting go, which is fun. So all those things, and I think there's a little bit of all of those in me. I was over involved. I love an idea. So I'm a bit of a shocker. If I hear something in the office, I'm like, well, squirrel, you know. So part of it was just recognising that. Part of it was, I always like to ask why. And if you're not letting go, so part of my journey from like, why are those agencies growing, why am I not? They let go more, why am I not? Was either because we had the wrong people in the wrong seat, or people needed training, or we just needed to get some other people in to help support the growth. So I think for me, I would wager a lot of people are accidental micromanagers, and almost the signs of that is you're working more hours than you should, or you're involved in more things than you should be. I was,
yeah, interesting, and you know, leadership is it can be a really, really lonely place, particularly when things aren't going so well, and when some bad things come along, which they always do, and you've got to kind of navigate through that. What would you say was the sort of low point from your point of view in your journey?
So I tend to live in hindsight, I've realised. And actually, we've obviously had some years doing better than others, but they were never lows. They were more like, I just look at those as challenges. As I look back, I think the lows were when I was that one-man senior leadership team, when you're trying to grow and you can't work out where you go, 12, 13, back to 11 people, turnover goes up, back down again, and you can't ever quite break that glass ceiling. And that was probably a bit of a low because I just wasn't energised by work. Like, I've genuinely enjoyed every year of my working career, which I think I'm quite fortunate to have done that. I realise now in hindsight, chatting to other people, but I have enjoyed it more the last 3 years since we've grown, and I've been better aware of what I'm good and not good at, and got the right people in the right seats. So I think the lows have been when I was in the wrong seat and I was trying to do it all myself and not letting go. slightly micromanaging.
So the lessons that you've learned on the journey.
Yeah.
Now, your business is very attuned to people and what the market needs, and to giving back and providing opportunities. And presumably that there's an element of that helped you found VarnFest and the one that you do for sort of emerging leaders as well, which you use this beautiful woodland for. I mean, did you just wake up one morning and decide I'm going to run a business festival different to everybody else's, or what was the mindset around it? I mean, where did it start?
So almost it was like that.
You did wake up.
Well, my brain's always like, I do think businesses should be more aware of the world around them.
Yeah.
So there's always that element. There's always the element of, how can you give back? There's also the part of, I love visiting clients. When you go down those industrial sites that look a bit grey, you go around the back of it to some
amazing business.
Yeah, and you go in from the outside, just it's like a warehouse. You go in, and you're like, oh man, they're selling globally and doing all this stuff. So I used to love all that anyway. But and we're fortunate. I reckon at the moment we probably work with maybe 50 clients, and I'm fortunate that I get to know the senior team normally. They all have similar challenges. So when we first initially having a clearer marketing strategy, we're like, we should do something to communicate or help people. I think someone suggested an SEO conference, and we were like, no one really cares about SEO, outside SEO, and our clients pay us to do it, so they definitely don't care. And I think I was like, but how can we just be helpful? Because actually then that's part of our value is helpful partner. So or one of our values. So I was like, well, let's just do an event that's helpful. And I love chatting to other business owners and just sharing the scars and the positives and the negatives, but it's sometimes easier to do that when they're not in your sector. So we're like, well, let's have an event that isn't a networking event. It's genuinely forcing leaders to take time out. But it's got to be helpful, and that was the premise. Now, fortunately, Vicky, who runs our marketing, got that. My old boss really got it, and we all sort of worked together to develop VarnFest. And the idea was, we didn't care if you're a client or not. Ideally, it's helpful, and we obviously invited our clients along. And I'm not going to lie, it's obviously helped our brand awareness, but that was never the aim. And I think that comes across on that side. Probably done it 4 years now, I think. But I think that comes across. And then the leaders came to it and said, can I bring my team? Because it's really great, makes me think. It's not uncomfortable, but it's a bit different, partly being in the woods, partly just some of the talks. They're sort of honest highs and lows, aren't they, from speakers who've been there and done it. They're like, can I bring my junior team? We're like, well, it's not. The idea is not really the aim. Well, no, like you'd share with someone who's had similar challenges, and you can be like, oh yeah, but different sectors. So it's not a competitor when you go to a networking event, everything's fine. It was more like, how can you be honest about it in that way? And they were like, well, it'd be great for our junior team. We're like, we want people to feel free to share, and that's more help. It's easier if you're chatting to similar people. So we're like, well, let's do VarnFest Future Leaders, where we almost try and talk through what we wish we were told when we were 20 to 25 at the beginning of our career about leadership, managing conflict, how to work in a team. Brilliant. Dynamic. Again, just to be helpful. And that's been much more obviously helpful, because we've partnered with a charity in Bristol where young people from sort of disadvantaged backgrounds, we just want them to see that the other people at the event who are a graduate program at a law firm regionally are just people. Yeah. And actually they can all do it. And actually that group are often unbelievably energizing. So that was a bit more, I guess, trying to be helpful, but just part of us trying to. I think businesses should put a bit back. Yeah. And it's a great part of your strategy. It's obviously working for you because you're making contacts out of it. Yeah. You're doing some business out of it. Yeah. It's adding value. Yeah, which is fortunate for the marketing team, because my idea was never for it to be that. But it has worked well. But I think if you care, it does. Yeah. Maybe it speaks volumes. Maybe it's a bit more unusual. I don't know. Now, in this podcast, right from the beginning, but almost every podcast, I've had to ask the question about AI. But there is obviously a massive, rapid change in AI. I mean, the pace of change is unbelievable. And in SEO, there was a lot of news around SEO is over. AI is going to take over. You wouldn't listen to that kind of stuff because you know more about it than the media does. But what have you done within the business to kind of embrace the AI change and to kind of move and shift your focus, I suppose? Well, for anyone listening to this, one thing I would say, if anyone sells you AI optimization as a different thing to SEO, that is snake oil, because they overlap massively.
Interesting.
So if anyone does that, just beware. Genuinely, they're massive. Like our clients who do well in SEO do pretty well in AI search. There's nuances and there's semantics to it, but they're similar. So I would just say that quickly. So don't forget that if you've got a good marketing plan. I realise, again, living in hindsight, that it's been great fun, because actually I got into SEO literally in the late 90s, when it was like the Wild West, and it's a bit like AI now. There was 10 different web browsers, 10 different search engines. The stock market was going like this, and everyone was freaking out about SEO was going to kill marketing, and it was great fun. And actually, from 2014 maybe to 2024, SEO was actually a bit boring. Not going to lie. Turns out it was quite formulaic, because Google didn't evolve as much. Big businesses got into it, and there was almost like a formulaic plan that you could just do. And actually, what AI has done is re-energized that. So in the early days, you did well if you kept ahead of it, and you kept iterating, kept testing, kept innovating. Underline that with a good brand. There was a bit where you didn't almost have to. You could just turn on a tap and just follow a set routine. So now for me, it's actually fun, because how people are searching has evolved. So again, that happened with SEO. People would just search one word, then they search two. And I remember when it went to 4 words, everyone was like freaking out. Whereas now it's like a whole sentence.
Yeah.
Right? So I think people in SEO who haven't been in it that long are freaking out, because if they joined after 2010, 2014, they were quite used to it being quite set and almost like a tick box exercise. But it was never like that in the old days. So maybe it's quicker, the change now, but it's very similar mindset of like, you have to keep testing, iterating. You can't be comfy. It's not a print brochure where you print and leave it. Your website needs to keep going. So It's been exciting for us, because it's forced us to refocus on our roots almost, which is innovation, thought leadership, but linking it to business goals and trying to be open and honest with the impact of it, rather than just sell AI optimization.
And business goals being the goals of your client businesses. They bring you their objectives, and you overlay a formulaic plan for SEO and AI over it. So the pace of change is still continues to be quick, and I think there will be systems and they're in the marketplace now that won't be there in the long term, and there'll be new ones that replace them, and that's obviously one of those things. But you've got a team of people that are all, some presumably were SEO educated, some are newer and their more mindset is AI. How do you keep the pace of the team focused on that evolution without getting completely distracted by AI only solutions?
Yeah. So, and I get distracted quite easily, Michael, so that is a risk.
I'm sure that's not true.
No, it is unfortunately true. We have a set innovation team. So because we're a little bit bigger, we can afford to have sort of non-billable time where literally people are paid to play with AI from an optimization perspective and test things. And test things that haven't been tried to see what works. So they're a distinct team. And again, that links back to our sort of business aims of thought leadership. But they've got whatever we test, there has to be a business value, right? So for us and for the client. So that's one where we keep focused. We have a set team and somebody who heads that up. So that keeps us focused. The rest of it for the client is because we're linked to KPIs, so it could be the e-commerce clients, it's obviously sales. So because we're linking to that, of its lead gen for B2B, and there's a cost per lead, we're still reporting against that. Yeah. So there's still, like I say, the rules aren't dissimilar. How people are searching is changing, and so maybe how you write content might evolve. So we're just evolving with it. But because we're always reporting to the client about business relevant targets, that keeps you focused. Yeah. Because you can't, that's where it used to annoy me with SEO. People just sell off the shelf X grand a month. What are you doing? Stuff. And then there's no accountability. And actually, in my mind, if you want to grow and have clients in the long run, the more accountable you are, the more, if you're good at it, obviously, the more likely they are to stay. Yeah. So I think for us, it's just keeping that accountability keeps us focused, because you've got a meeting to go to where you've got to do something that adds value.
Interesting. Really interesting. So, so we've done the lows. Yeah. And you said there haven't been many, so there's obviously been loads and loads of highs. What would you say was the highest high? What's been the best bit about starting your own business? I'm quite glass half full as a person. So, but at the same time, I'm one of those slightly annoy the team that I never get too excited.
which I think is a weakness and a strength.
Okay.
So, because actually I should probably get better at celebrating, but I'm always like, but we could have done that better, which is part of the reason I think it's good for our evolution, because we're like, how can we do that better with that client? But I think I can be a bit of a mood hoover sometimes with the more energetic members of the team. But the highs for me have been just the team. I think just working with them is just growing a team. There was a member of staff who started with us as an intern, wanting to be a web developer. She started that. About 2 weeks in, we were like, we think you'd be great at tech SEO. That was, I should know exactly, it was probably about 8 years ago. Anyway, she went off, finished her degree in maths, master's in maths, came back, and then she was talking at Brighton SEO last year, which was the world's largest SEO conference, and she absolutely owned it. And I was like a proud dad sort of moment. And I told her, I think things like that actually, because
it's all about the team.
I think well, for me, it's, you've got to enjoy your job. Like, you spend something like 70% of your awake hours at work.
Oh, it's nuts. Yeah.
So if you don't enjoy it, so for me, it's like, if I can see the team enjoying what they do, and we haven't got that right every time. If you get the wrong person in the wrong seat, that would be another low, actually, wrong people in the wrong seat. Partly because I feel responsible for doing that, but also it's not nice for anyone. But the highs are when you get it right. And actually, the counter side to that, if you want a business reason for doing it, is your business will perform better if you get the right people in the right seat.
Absolutely.
Well. So I think I enjoy that bit. I think I'm just fortunate that bit also helps us grow. I'm not going to say it was intentional, because that would be a lie. But I think they're the bits I enjoy.
Amazing. So what's next for Varn Media?
Well, evolve with AI, as you rightly said, and keep that going, which is exciting. So I suppose there's a few pillars, I guess, we've got. One is sort of search everywhere. It's sort of becoming now, isn't it? Because people search in more than one place. So we're really growing there and pushing that and working with clients to make sure they're everywhere. Although I will add to that, for anyone who is in marketing or running a company, it is really still down to, have you got a good brand with a good product, with a good service? That's still, and I think what AI will do, sorry, slight tangent, just for people listening, if you've got that and your marketing team can communicate that properly, that's the key. Then they overlay that with the sort of technical nuances of AI and SEO. That's key, because SEO you could cheat a bit because Google wasn't that smart. I think AI is going to be harder to cheat.
Yeah.
So actually, we're quite excited again, because the brands we work with we enjoy, and we've been trying to do it properly. So anyway, so sorry, rant over. So search everywhere is a pillar. Keep growing.
Yeah.
Essentially, we're still proud of what we do, and we want to do it with more people and help them out, because we're a small business. I hate paying for stuff that doesn't add value, and we genuinely feel bad invoicing people who doesn't add value. Hence our drive to try and, we've had clients that don't really have clear KPIs, and it slightly stresses us out. Partly because we're competitive, so we like to know we're doing a good job. Partly because we're like, well, we can't really show any value. And it's like, so I think that keep growing through adding value, grow the London team a bit more. I think try and provide a workplace that people are happy to work in. Too many people don't. It's a shame how many people don't enjoy their jobs.
Yeah.
We found that some people aren't right for Varn, and that's fine. Like,
and that's the way in any business, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think when I used to feel bad if we ever had to sort of help support somebody, they were going to leave Varn or something. But I realise actually, when that has happened, they've gone into a job that's been better for them. They've been happier. Our team have been happier because people probably knew they weren't quite the right fit, which weirdly undervalues you as a leader. So it's so much better for everyone. It's just a bit of a journey to get there. So we're just trying to focus on that and then helping our team find the right job. And I think if we can do that, we should keep growing anyway, because you are based on the team, really. Yeah. But so that would be our sort of main aims going forward, is just keep enjoying it.
And the business is clearly very focused on the team and leadership and development, and that's worked really well for you. But what I get from you is a sense of tone around the customer, the client, very much at the centre of your decision making, which is something I've pushed in previous businesses, because a lot of your customer introductions is coming from clients saying to other potential clients, these guys did a really good job for me. Do you find that there's a real time consuming element to having to spend time with those clients and really understand, as you say, their KPIs, their needs, their objectives? Or is that the bit that you really enjoy? That's the bit you get the most out of?
Well, it's funny. I enjoy it, but definitely in the past, we've never lost a client from we have lost a client, but we've never lost a client from performance, we've lost them because we haven't understood them and loved them enough. But I think in the past, we're so worried about wanting to add value, we'd almost not tell them what we were doing because we want to spend all the time doing. Which I think was a horrible thing to do, but actually weirdly, people, you need to bring them with you and find out what they want to achieve and why and how. Yeah. So, and I do enjoy that bit, but it was that narrative of realising that does add value. It's not just the doing, if you can link the two together. So that's been a key learner for me. So I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting people. And I think the team enjoy it more, because if you know why you're doing the thing you're doing, your job, there's more of a meaning to why you're doing it. There's that famous story, isn't there, with I don't know, it was JFK or someone was at NASA walking around, and he went into a room and there was someone cleaning.
Oh yeah, so what are you doing?
And it's just like, what?
Put a man on the moon.
If there's a point, if the team know that little job they're doing there is going to help that business, there's just more reason for doing it. So I think that's probably happened. And again, my wife was saying the same at home. Always like, why are we doing that? How we could have done that a bit better. I think that's also a personality trait. Yeah. And that comes back to understanding what you're like. Because if you're not like that, that's fine. But maybe you employ someone who is more like that, and you focus on. I can't remember who the company was. There was a company. It was it's a web platform, Craigslist. It's quite famous back in the day. It's still quite big in America now. The guy who runs it, he realised he wasn't a CEO, but he loved the help desk. So he actually employed a CEO and stayed running the help desk, which he loved.
Because he'd already got most out of.
He was very good at it. Yeah. He knew the system inside out. Company grew brilliantly. He still owned it. So he still did really well.
He's just doing what he
did.
did.
But he realised that was the bit he was best at. And I think, but there was a narrative where if you own the business or you're a senior team, you have to be doing that. That might not be the thing that you are best at. And that might be hard to reflect on, but that's definitely, or it might be you are better as a one-man band.
It's a really big decision, isn't it? Deciding what's best for the business next, and who are the people to lead it next. And you know, obviously you're clearly recruiting people around you that can support you in all of those things, and that's kind of really great to see. Yeah. So, a question that I always ask in my podcast is, what message would you give people that are thinking of getting into business, or they are founders in the making, or they're people that are in business now but not really sure what to do next? You've clearly been successful in what you've done. What would be your message?
Well, there's possibly two. The first one, slight mini rant, is it concerns me that the press are very negative. Like the stats about setting up a business, how everyone who runs a business is stressed, this many go under, all the rules, all the negative. Why would you ever go and set up a business? Whereas I think they should switch it. So I'd say to people who are thinking of it, if you get it right and you can run a business, something you're good at or that energizes you, you will enjoy it. You will have struggles financially because
that's just the way. It goes.
It's just the way it goes. So again, don't beat yourself up. You can have there's a very fine line between genius and not hitting targets. Like we've won some big clients. If we hadn't, we wouldn't think we're as smart as we had. And there'll be other years when we're like, don't. We look a bit stupid now because we set that target we didn't hit. So I would just try and think about it like, if you're getting stressed, you're either not billing enough or you're slightly in the wrong role. Probably speak to Michael. But but seriously, or at least reflect yourself. I just looked at other people. So that's one bit I'd say. If you're thinking of doing it, just make sure you understand your strengths and weaknesses and focus on that. What was the second question?
So this is your what message. So you had two messages. You've done one. You can now have another one.
Second message was, don't. Everyone's got imposter syndrome. Would be my second one. I'm amazed, and I've been doing it now. I suppose even before I set up Varn, I was working in a small business, and when we were with that training company, and even with Varn, we worked with FTSE 100 companies down to like small local companies, and everyone's just a person. The ones you think are great aren't as good as you thought they are, and you'll meet someone who runs a small business who's unbelievably good at it. It will be in a sector. I know someone's in a sector that's going like this, but their business is going like this. Well, because they're good at it, that you'll never hear of them. So I would just people don't get too in awe of people. Just realise that actually most people, the people who've done well have either just very good at finding their strength, but part of it will just be right place, right time. Yeah. I mean, if I set up SEO's grown as an industry, so almost if we hadn't grown, I'm doing a really bad job. Yeah. Genuinely.
Yeah, because you've been able to ride a little bit of industry change.
We'd have a client come along and they'd be like, we've done quite well, we've grown. And we'd be like, yeah, you've grown. But if you look at how the web traffic has grown, or the intent or the interest has grown for your sector, you've actually shrunk. And they're like, oh, we're like, yeah. So you need to. It's the same with us. But if you're in a sector that is flatlining, actually the fact that you're still there is a good. Celebrate that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's like, don't beat yourself up. People are just people. No one's as good as they think they are, but also people aren't as bad as they think they are. There's people at either end that are amazing and could probably make anything fly, and there's people at the other end that would crash anything, even if they took it over and it was flying. But in the middle, it's more about support and understanding yourself, I think.
And you would, I mean, from what you're saying, you would definitely say go for it. People are thinking, I want to get into business.
Yeah, as long as you, work out where your strengths are, for sure, go for it. It is fun. Perhaps it was easy because I was a bit younger, maybe. Although I think the stats show it during a recession. Often that's when the most businesses set up, because people lose their job or get made redundant, have to do something, so they do, and then it just works. And there's a funny thing with business where, in one hand, it's not as hard as it looks. In the other hand, it is.
Yeah.
But if you don't do it, it definitely won't happen. You know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, strengths and analysing one's strengths is a core part of the first fundamentals of my executive coaching program. So you've picked the perfect one for.
I didn't know that.
Well done. That's great. You're now my new marketing guy.
Okay.
No, absolutely brilliant. That's been a wonderful podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, then first and foremost, go to Varn Media and have a look and see if they can help you with your business. And second, visit our YouTube channel, so Michael Glanville Podcaster, or our Spotify channel. Have a listen, have a watch. There's some brilliant podcasts on there. But from Michael Glanville Executive Coaching, from our podcast, from Varn Media, from Tom Vaughton, you're now a amazing leader on your journey to success. You were before, but now you've joined the crew.
His weaknesses.
Thank you so much. It's been absolutely brilliant.
No, thanks for your time. Not at all.